what's up, guys? Or what's up, YouTube? Or if you're new, hi. My name's Ludon, aka Ludon the Movie Guy, and you're tuning into my channel where I watch movies and I sometimes make movies. Today, you're tuning into Movie Time, a series on my channel where I talk about movies both new and old. And today, we'll be talking about my most anticipated Marvel movie, I think, since Endgame came out, Fantastic Four: First Steps. If you haven't seen my two previous videos on the older theatrical Fantastic Four movies, I would highly recommend watching them before this video. But if not, you can go ahead and watch the rest of the video. It's cool. Without further ado, I think we should just get straight into talking about this movie. So yeah, was it fantastic? We'll figure it out. Or you'll figure it out if you watch the rest of the review. So yeah, it's plot synopsis time. On an alternate Earth from the mainline continuity of the MCU, Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman, Human Torch, and The Thing, already established as the Fantastic Four in this world, prepare to welcome in a new baby to their team. But they also have to deal with Galactus and Silver Surfer, who threaten the Earth as they know it. So yeah, that is the plot synopsis of Fantastic Four: First Steps. Pretty simple, but that's all I can say without spoiling the fuck out of this movie, so yeah. Hi, YouTube, this is Ludon the Movie Guy. I apologize for how the camera quality looks. It's probably just because this is being recorded on my iPhone and not my Canon. This is just a random vlog. I'm gonna start trying to do these in more movie reviews for new movies. I'm about to go head out to see Fantastic Four: First Steps for the first time by myself. A friend of mine actually got advance tickets to a screening on Wednesday, and Wednesday is today. The movie starts in like the next hour, so I'm about to get ready and drive over to the theater. It's 30 minutes away, and I think the show time's at like 7, and it's about to be 6, so I'm gonna try to get there early. So yeah, this is what the fit for First Steps is looking like. You know, light little fantastic shoes. I call them fantastic shoes because they're the same color as, you know, the white and blue that they wear in the movie. And then I got a Vans hoodie on, and then there's just my beautiful face. Yeah, okay, let's leave, hop in the car, and drive over to the theater so we're not late. Yeah. Fantastic Four: First Steps honestly takes everything I love about the Fantastic Four, rolls it up into a ball, and just makes an amazing movie with it. In all honesty, the first screening I had for this movie was a press screening, which was my first time even at one of those. I got this ticket from Full Sail, or not actually from Full Sail, from a friend of mine who goes to Full Sail with me, one of my homies. His name's Elijah, great dude. Bro just slid me a ticket for an early screening of it, and I pull up and it was a press screening with all of these people from like iHeartRadio, UCF, a bunch of random places in the area of Orlando. And I got to watch the movie about a day early, and that press screening was a lot of fun. Just being in that environment full of people who either waited outside for hours and were just as excited as me, or just people who were trying to break down the movie. Being in that environment, it felt really nice. And when I say this movie does so much justice to the Fantastic Four, it really does. Previous iterations haven't leaned as fully as they could have into the vibrance and comic book nature of this family, not even touching the science fiction of it, but this movie touches on the basis of all of those in such a beautiful and brilliant way. It's just, for me, it felt euphoric to watch, and I'm not even kidding. After years of seeing these characters done horribly or just completely mishandled, seeing them done in such a right way just hit a certain area of my brain. It tickled something in my heart. In doing so, it leaves me with like a really unforgettable Marvel movie experience, something which reminds me of how I felt when I saw the first Avengers or when I saw Guardians 2 for the first time. No exaggeration, this and Thunderbolts are the two best Marvel movies that have come out since Endgame, 100%. Besides that, this movie takes the grand science fiction of the comics, the family dynamics of the comics, everything that works there, it takes it and translates it onto the big screen. Without spoiling or getting into anything too specifically, I can tell you that if you're a Fantastic Four fan, you will love this movie. Like, genuinely, this movie is so good for that. It felt like wish fulfillment for me, because it's the movie I've wanted to see since I was 7 years old. No exaggeration. I know I'm leaning a lot on hyperbole here, but this movie genuinely did hit all of those boxes. So yeah, besides that, the movie leans into the comic bookiness by being enveloped in this retro, colorful vibe. It takes place on an alternate Earth, which is apart from the basic MCU continuity we know. And because of that, it's able to have a vibrance and a style to it that's not the same as the original world, that just makes these characters stick out even more and gives them a really fresh take. But this movie translates retro futurism, like the 60s whole vibe of that, in such a nice way. It leans into that and feels fantastical. I mean, like, it feels like a fantasy. It feels like the definition of sci-fi fantasy to me, or at least the fantasy side of sci-fi fantasy. But specifically, seeing this team come together, I just really want to see how they're going to charge the next era, because this is basically the MCU's Avengers now, which the first family, for them to come in this late in the game in the MCU and for them to blow it out the water so effectively, I love that, because this is my Fantastic Four. So yeah, besides that, before I get into the voiceover segment, one thing I want to dwell on is just the casting, because the casting of all 4 characters is really, really good. I love Joseph Quinn. I loved him in Stranger Things season 4. In fact, when I saw him in the Upside Down playing the guitar during that one scene at the end of the season, I kind of envisioned him playing some grandiose character at some point. So when he got casted as Johnny Storm, I was like, perfect. I didn't even question that casting. Every other casting also works. The one that I was kind of on the fence about before the movie came out was Pedro Pascal, just because of how popular he is now. But Pedro knocks it out of the park because he's Pedro Pascal. I don't even know why I questioned him. It's the type of thing where he's definitely popular for a reason, like a Timothy Chalamet type thing. They're both great actors, and Pedro fucking murders this role. I'll get into more of why he murders this role and why the whole movie works as a whole in the spoiler segment. So yeah, I'm gonna spoil Fantastic Four First Steps. Now, you can skip to this time code if you don't want to get spoiled, but yeah, spoiler time. Okay guys, we're officially parked at AMC. I actually don't go to AMC that much. I'm more of a Cinemark / Regal person, so my voice cracked, ignore that. But yeah, we're about to go in. I'm gonna check back in after the movie to give you my first impressions in this car. So yeah, this is before. My expectations are high, but what I tend to do before I go into Marvel movies, especially when I'm excited for them, is just lower them. So for the next like 10 minutes, I'm just gonna be repeating in my head that I need to lower my expectations. Someone with a tiny dick just sped by. But yeah, we're gonna go in and watch Fantastic Four, so let's do that. Yeah. This movie does something which I feel like every Fantastic Four movie before it has failed to do completely, and it leans into the core of the characters and the core of the Fantastic Four entirely in such a magnificent way. It makes my nerdy little brain explode. I feel like literally this movie just understands the characters so at such an intrinsic level, it doesn't even really try, it just shows you. I'm just gonna go through it bit by bit as with the shit that I can remember. I've seen it twice now. This movie doesn't really spend time showing you their origins. They're already established in this world, but you get like the Cliff Notes version in a sequence that quite literally almost made me cry. I'm sitting there in this theater and watching this sequence where it's basically a talk show host introducing the Fantastic Four. This comes right after the intro of the movie where Sue gets positive on a pregnancy test and her and Reed embrace. That scene is just so wholesome. And immediately as soon as I saw that scene, any question I had about Pedro Pascal playing Reed Richards was gone. He speaks in such a Reed Richards type way. I didn't even see Pedro Pascal anymore. I was a little bit worried about the casting, but as soon as he talked, all my worries were gone. They just washed away. And as soon as him and Sue interacted, him and that actress have a lot of chemistry. It's funny because I see people on the internet saying that actress's husband, no, Vanessa Kirby's husband, might be a little jealous. I wouldn't blame them, to be honest. Their chemistry in this movie is so palpable, and they're like the core of the family because they're welcoming in a new baby in this movie, which is why it's called First Steps, which is a beautiful title, by the way. But yeah, back to the intro of the four. We get this Cliff Notes little montage of them, and it's so effective with Michael Giacchino's music also playing over it, which Michael Giacchino's themes have fucking... That man is such an amazing composer. His work on the Batman and his work on this, and his work on The Incredibles, matter of fact. Bro, I love Michael Giacchino. He also did the Planet of the Apes movies. That man, get him an Oscar, please. I don't know if he has an Oscar ready, but if not, get him one now. But that intro where we see all of the Fantastic Four, and we even get a little glimpse at their origin story because the ABC broadcast, that's like the talk show that's introducing them, they basically show little bits of them as astronauts in a really well shot sequence. This movie is also very vibrant. I need to get into that. Matt Shakman, who directed this movie, also directed some of my favorite episodes of The Boys and did WandaVision too. So that man is established in the superhero genre in general. He knows what he's doing, and you can tell he knows what he's doing. Unlike someone like Josh Trank, who they brought in, who didn't care about superheroes, I can tell Matt Shakman has such a deep love for this because he directs this with so much vibrance. The production design in this movie, especially everything in the Baxter building, oh my god, it's so like retro futuristic because of the 1960s setting. And it's so vibrant and colorful, it feels perfect. It exemplifies exactly what these characters should be because the Fantastic Four is such a vibrant group of superheroes And to finally see that vibrance just put on the screen in front of my eyes, it blows. It's really nice. It's just amazing. Speaking of the four themselves, the core cast all gives amazing performances. I already mentioned Pedro Pascal, but Vanessa Kirby, I need to praise her real quick. She delivers the best Invisible Woman performance we've had by far. Every other version of this character seemed weak, in all honesty, and never really delved into the aspects of Invisible Woman that I love and I feel make her such a powerful character. Invisible Woman at the end of the day is the linchpin of the group. She is like literally the glue that holds them all together. I'm not gonna lie. She's just such a nurturing mother and such a, not even nurturing, she's nurturing, but she's powerful. It's such a nice balance. Holy shit, I gotta point out, I think my favorite scene in this entire movie where Vanessa Kirby and Pedro Pascal are just acting off of each other in an amazing way. The scene in the spaceship after they visit Galactus for the first time, which Galactus is also fucking perfect. This Galactus, so much of this movie is perfect. I'm realizing it as I'm talking about it out loud. This version of Galactus, played by Ralph Ineson, I think. He was in some Harry Potter movies. He's a great actor, but yeah, this version of Galactus is dead ass terrifying. When I saw him and heard his voice boom around the theater, and then he's like, I'm gonna take your baby. I'm gonna need that baby. That baby's gonna have to replace me because I'm hungry as fuck and I'm low-key trying to move on from this hunger. So that baby, the baby, yeah, like Franklin Richards. And if you know anything about Franklin Richards, which I sadly don't know much about Franklin Richards, I need to study up on him. Apparently he's like a god or something. So, whatever they're going to do with that character, I trust Marvel at this point. But yeah, after they escape from Galactus with Silver Surfer tailing the fuck out of him, the actress who plays Silver Surfer in this, because this version of Silver Surfer is Shella Ball, not Norin Rad, which it's fine, honestly. The gender of the character never really mattered too much, to be honest. And it still comes across in the same Silver Surfer way. And if you know what I said about Silver Surfer in Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, that review, you know I love Silver Surfer, period. So yeah, anyways, the scene I want to lament on specifically acting wise is the scene where Vanessa Kirby is literally giving birth to Franklin while the Fantastic Four are trying to get Silver Surfer off their back. That's probably the most intense scene in this movie other than the climax, because they're flying past the black hole trying to get Silver Surfer to get sucked into the black hole. And when Silver Surfer gets sucked into the black hole, we get a weird CGI visual that I really like, which again, that visual with Silver Surfer getting like kind of stretched out, like spaghetti-fied into the black hole, that visual is enigmatic of the fucking vibrance of comic books. And I love the fact that we're just leaning fully into comic books now, that these studios aren't afraid to lean into their roots. I love that so much. I can't stress that enough. But yeah, she's giving birth while fucking making the ship go invisible in between her contractions while Reed is like consoling her. Their chemistry is so palpable because Reed is like, baby, I'm here. I know you're going through it, but I'm here. And he has to come up with a plan in order to make sure they don't die and get home safe while making sure his wife is delivering this baby. Reed is going through a lot in the scene. Sue's going through a lot of the scene. Johnny, I didn't even touch on Johnny and Ben. I'll get to them right now. Johnny and Ben, honestly, are some of the weaker parts of this movie, but even though they're weaker, their characters are still so solidified, they work fully. They're just not the main focus, which I like because in all honesty, Ben and Johnny steal the show of the previous Fantastic Four movies, if we're being real. So to have a Fantastic Four movie where Reed and Sue are pretty much the main driving factors, I love that. Either way though, this version of Johnny is a lot more interesting than the previous versions. Instead of being a man-child, he actually has some level of intelligence, which makes sense because he's a fucking astronaut, so of course. But yeah, it's such an obvious decision. None of the other directors really thought to put in there. Michael B. Jordan's Johnny had like no personality. Chris Evans' Johnny was a man-child, and Joseph Quinn's Johnny is so perfectly charming and intelligent while being such a little brother in the group. It's perfect. And Eben Moss, I think it's Eben Moss Backrack? Yeah, Eben Moss Backrack's Ben Grimm / The Thing is good. I would say he's great, actually. I'm gonna go past good. I noticed one thing about this character. There was one shot that I think summed up everything perfectly, because the movie doesn't focus or dwell on him being sad all the time, but it hints at it, and it hints at it perfectly. Some of his CGI is a little choppy, but yeah, I'm gonna just dial in on the shot that I love. There's a shot of the Thing looking in at a glass, right? And he's looking at a TV, which is playing the old videos of them as astronauts, and he's just staring at what he used to look like before the transformation. And you can kind of see the sadness in his eyes. It's so perfect because the shot shows you everything you need to know. There is no, oh, I'm so sad, look at me. It's just Ben looking at the TV, and then the TV shuts off, and then he's just left with his face. And that shit is perfect. All four of these characters are done so well. There were dead-ass moments in this movie where I was looking at the screen in awe because I was just shocked that they did my team right. because this is just my favorite superhero team, period. But yeah, besides all that, I'm just gonna say one of a few random spoiler things. Franklin brings Invisible Woman back to life, and Invisible Woman does die in this movie after displaying her strength in such a fucking fire way, because she literally pretty much single-handedly defeats Galactus, but she dies because she expels all of her energy into it. And that scene was so badass, dog. I was covered in chills. I loved Vanessa Kirby in that entire scene. And then Pedro Pascal's sadness at the end, thinking his wife is literally dead in front of him. That was so palpable. Holy shit. It was great. I can't wait to see how Pedro Pascal leads the Avengers in Avengers Doomsday. I'm not gonna lie. We'll see. But yeah, that's another spoiler. One more spoiler. Galactus is technically defeated by Silver Surfer because Johnny Storm actually tells Shalabal, because he gets like a little thing for Silver Surfer, not gonna lie. Which Johnny isn't much of a womanizer in this version, but that's kind of fine with me, I'm not gonna lie. It makes him a lot less of a man-child in my opinion, which I feel like is what this movie was going for, so I didn't mind that interpretation. Johnny's role in the team, he actually has a function besides just being the funny one. Like, Johnny deadass puts in the work and gets the Silver Surfer to realize who she is, and then he's like, look, you can help us. You can just drive Galactus away. And she's like, there is no help. You should just take the child and leave. Because the reason Galactus is coming to Earth is to take Franklin. Or if he doesn't get Franklin, he's going to eat Earth. Which, yeah, I mean, he's Galactus. He eats planets. That's his thing. I honestly thought, based on the end credit scene in Thunderbolts, that the Fantastic Four was going to lose. And it was going to be on like an Infinity War type ending. And they were going to have to come over to this Earth after losing their own Earth, but I was completely wrong, I'm not gonna lie. Speaking of end credit scenes, I'm just gonna jump straight to talking about this movie's end credit scene, because holy fuck, we get a little jingle of the Fantastic Four, you know, but that's not the one you're here to hear me talk about. This is the major spoiler, so if you decided not to skip the spoilers and you're just here, fuck it, I'm warning you anyways. I'm giving you a major spoiler in 3, 2, 1. We see Doctor Doom for the first time in the MCU in this end credit sequence, which I was low-key expecting because Doomsday is so soon, but I'm really curious how this scene is going to progress and how the Fantastic Four is going to get over to the mainline MCU. That's just something in the back of my head, and I'm not even going to try to predict it because I am not one of those YouTubers that's going to break down every fucking section of the scenes and try to predict what's going to happen in the next one. But yeah, overall, I feel like this movie and Thunderbolts are the two best things that have come out of the MCU since Endgame. And I was really looking forward to this movie, and I can safely say my expectations were surpassed. After rewatching the older movies and just realizing how mishandled these characters have been, I was starting to just I was forcing myself to push my expectations down because when I get really excited for something, I do this thing, especially like right before I go into a movie when I'm really excited for it. I just tell myself, lower your expectations. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if the movie's going to be good. So just lower everything, right? And then just go in blind. I try to do that at least. With this, I was sitting in that theater and I genuinely got the same feeling I got when I was 6 years old watching the first Avengers, or when I was 12 years old watching Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 for the first time in theaters, or when I was 15 watching The Suicide Squad for the first time in theaters, or a few weeks ago when I was watching Superman for the first time in theaters. I really feel like comic book movies are just starting to actually find their ground again, and they're doing that because they're leaning into what works in the comics and not being afraid of the vibrance of it all. And I love it when these directors come in and just deliver on every front and just do justice to the comics while delivering their own interpretation that keeps these ideas fresh. Because again, superheroes I treat like a mythology, comic books I treat like a mythology. You have to constantly reinterpret them so they just work. And when you reinterpret the best aspects of these characters like this movie does, you get a truly fantastic experience, pun intended. So I'm gonna give Fantastic Four 2025 First Steps a 9 out of 10. The only reason it's not a 10 out of 10, and I stress this right now, is because I'm a film student. And I gotta be fair, it's still a superhero movie. I love superhero movies, but it's not no art house A24 thing that's gonna change my entire life after watching it. It is just amazing escapism and amazing superhero media. This is the shit that I want to see more from Marvel and DC. Superman and Fantastic Four are the two movies of this summer that I genuinely love. But yeah, and the only reason this is a little higher than Superman on my scale is because it's my scale, and I like the Fantastic Four more than Superman. I'm biased. I'm not sorry. Now I think it's outro time. So yeah, outro time. Okay, fresh out of the theater for Fantastic Four. All I gotta say is, being the huge Fantastic Four fan that you already know I am, that movie, I feel like shit. I dead ass almost cried. Yeah. I never thought I never thought I'd get to see the characters that I love done so right. And that shit was fucking fantastic. Pun intended. All right, bye. Okay, thank you for watching this review, because I genuinely really appreciate you for that. I put a lot of time and effort into these Fantastic Four videos, so if you tuned into all 3 of them, that's great. If you want to see more of me, you can check out my Letterboxd, where I write movie reviews literally immediately after I finish a movie. Like, the credits will start rolling and I will pull out my phone and type a review. I have literally reviewed every movie I've seen since 2021 on that app, because I am an addict to Letterboxd. Besides that, also feel free to check out my Instagram if you want to see the professional work I do, or other stuff I'd post, because I'm also a filmmaker, so yeah, I just put random stuff on there. So yeah, besides that, you can check out the other movie reviews I have on this channel, or the skits, or the short films, or the other movie reviews that are gonna come out soon. So yeah, I'd recommend subscribing and liking, but that's up to you, because you have free will. And besides that, this movie was fantastic, and the thing is, I hope you have a fantastic day, or night, or afternoon, or morning, depending on what time you're watching this. Just have a good one, and yeah, bye-bye.